Hello Dippers, welcome back to volume 22 of Humpday Hysteria. I'm your host, Pip, and as always, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the Saucy Pod. Listen to iTunes and Spotify. Listen to Sauce on the Side every Monday, Ducks on the Pond every Sunday, Knuckle Sandwich every Thursday, and Food for Thought most Saturdays. Missed the past 2 weeks, but it'll be back, I'm sure. And with me, as always, the voice of Food for Thought, our St. Louis correspondent himself, Fletcher Hoig.
Yeah, Leighton, I haven't put out any Food for Thought. I've been grinding for the podcast in different ways. We got some big interviews coming up for Sauce on the Side. One of them is an interview I did recently with Kristen Peak, and she'll be airing on the Monday show, so listen for that.
We can't wait for that. Kristen Peak, always a fan of the show. This will be her, I think, fourth time coming on the show. So looking forward to hearing about that.
Humpday, who's Hysteria?
A Sauce on the Side production.
On today's podcast, we'll talk about the first week of NBA season, the good performances, even had a little tussle at the Staples Center, college basketball starting up, so we'll hit on that a little bit. We'll have Fletcher on the fly, and we'll even have a little bit of NBA draft talk. So through 1 week of the NBA season, the Los Angeles Lakers are winless. The Raptors, Bucks, Pistons, Nuggets, and Pelicans are all undefeated, and the top rookies in the draft are playing as advertised. So we'll start with the biggest story of the offseason, and probably the biggest story of the whole season, the Lakers. First and foremost, I gotta give you Fletcher credit. You said that you liked the Josh Hart pick. He's showing out for him. You said Kyle Kuzma could become a star. He had 37 points his last game. So
8 rebounds.
Fletcher,
Thank you.
Good job. This is why you're hired. This is why I pay you the big bucks.
That's right.
So I've heard in the media over the past few days people questioning LeBron's effort, saying that he's only in LA, he wants to be in Hollywood, despite what the numbers say. Vegas actually has Luke Walton as the first coach to be fired right now, which I think is kind of hysterical. I'm sure you, like me, are confident they'll be in the playoffs still, but what's the deal right now, and is there any real reason to panic if you're a Lakers fan?
Well, I'll tell you what. One of the things we talked about, Kristen Peak and I, we talked about in the interview that's going to air on Monday about Luke Walton a little bit and the Lakers, and so we'll save my opinion on Luke Walton particularly for that interview. But what's going on with the Lakers, I talked about they would have issues rebounding as a team. I was never super worried about their offense. I knew that they were going to play with enough pace. I knew there was going to be enough shooting on the floor most of the time for LeBron and those other guys to get the looks they want. So I knew scoring wasn't going to be an option, but I never realized team defense was going to be as bad as it is. And it's chemistry and it's effort. It's knowing where everybody is on the court together, and that's where they're kind of struggling right now. That's definitely something that's going to get righted the more they play with each other. These young guys, they're still... the Lakers were an okay defensive team as far as net rating last year, but these young guys, they don't know how to perform and execute on an every play basis. And now that they have Lance Stevenson, Rondo, LeBron, they have these guys here who are bona fide pros who have done it, know it. They're going to expect that going forward throughout the rest of the season. And guys like Josh Hart, Kuzma, Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, and the rookies that they drafted just this past year, they're going to figure that out. It's going to be about 20, 30 games, but they're going to figure out this whole team defense thing. They've been putting up 120, 130, 140. They've been putting up numbers each game. They just got to figure out how to get stops, and that's where their biggest problem is right now. They've even been rebounding okay, despite only having one true center. They're not even dressing Mo Wagner right now. So once they figure out the whole team defense, I think that they're going to right the ship. The team defense, the chemistry, it's all going to come together. It's going to be about 20 or 30 games before I think it's really going to set in, but that's their biggest flaw right now.
You talk about team defense, and it seems like the past 2, 3, 4 seasons, that's kind of been like LeBron's issue for his teams has been the lack of team defense. They put up points. Do you think the defense might be a LeBron issue?
No, because when you look at those, let's back it up. when he was in Miami and in his first stint in Cleveland, they were great defensive teams. People talk about how bad that Cleveland team was in 07, but the thing is that the team in 07 that made it to the finals, they were like the 5th best defensive net rating in the NBA that year. Then the Miami team, they were all great. What happened was when he went to Cleveland, he just surrounded himself with veterans who can shoot. Veterans can typically shoot, but these older veterans that can shoot, like a Kyle Korver, one of their problems is they're not always, terrific defenders. So that's what you ran into there with Cleveland. Here, they have guys who are athletic. They have Lonzo Ball as a 6'7" point guard. Rondo's proven himself defensively. We all know JaVale can protect the rim. Lance is a stifle of a guy on the perimeter playing defense. They've got length, they've got athleticism. They've just got to figure out a way to piece it together. It's not a LeBron issue. It's just a team-specific issue that you saw with Cleveland in the past few years. And LA, they're going to get it straittened out. They've got too many athletes. They've got too many bodies on the team right now who can play that they won't figure it out defensively.
Right. And so through the week of the season, we've seen, Rondo, Ball, and LeBron all handle the ball. Yeah. Pretty much basically a similar amount. Do you think that will keep going? Do you think one guy, maybe being LeBron or Ball, will take more control of the offense?
I'm really looking for Lonzo Ball to start playing more. When I saw the suspensions got handed down, I saw Rondo was going to be out for 2 or 3 games, and then Ingram was going to be out for 4. The first thing I thought was, this is going to be the chance for Kuzma to come out and prove himself. He's done that early, and it's going to be another chance for Lonzo Ball to come out and prove himself. Lonzo Ball in the last 2 games has hit 7 threes, so he's kind of answering the questions about the jump shot here early, even though he still has more to prove. He's come in and made some highlight plays. They're going to be a team, and Lonzo Ball is going to help with this. They're going to be a team, like I said earlier, they have enough shooting, but they don't have a lot of shooting. And so what that means is they're going to play with more pace. Lonzo Ball, you saw it at UCLA, you saw it at Chino Hills, you saw it last year at the Lakers. One thing he can do is get the ball up and down the court in a hurry with the quick outlet pass. And so playing with better pace like that, I think that's something, especially with Lonzo seemingly finding his jump shot now. I think playing with pace and Lonzo getting that jumper together, it seems early, that Lonzo's going to play more. Yeah.
Yeah, you like it?
Yep.
Okay, before we move on, there's a fight last Saturday night at Staples Center where...
Was there?
Lonzo Ball, Rajon Rondo maybe possibly spit on Chris Paul. Chris Paul pushed him in the face. Rajon shocked him one. Chris Paul punched back. And then LeBron big brothered Chris Paul. Then Ingram came in and used his size advantage to get a good jab in. Do you think that just what the hell is going on? You never see punches actually thrown in a sporting event unless it's baseball.
Yeah, that was intense. I mean, as soon as Chris Paul, well, let's just back it up to the spit. I mean, Rondo claims it was accidental. I've been pretty pissed off and in the moment and spit fly out of my mouth. And the way Chris Paul reacted, like if somebody were to spit on me, it's over. Like there's no more talking or anything. Like it's go time at that point. You're looking at a punch to the face or a headbutt or something. And so the way Chris Paul responded, he wiped his face. And he started to wipe it back on Rondo, and I think that was like another smart move or smart ass move by Chris Paul, saying like, "Yeah, hey, you spit on me on accident, but I'm gonna wipe it in your face," like trying to one up him, so to speak. And then, I mean, Rondo wasn't having that. I mean, if a grown man started touching my face and we were, going toe to toe like that, I mean, I would have done what Rondo did as well. And once Rondo threw his punch, Chris Paul decided he had to get one in too. And Brandon Ingram decided to come over and get one over the top. He sniped Chris Paul in the face from the rooftops with that long reach he has. But, Rondo and Chris Paul, it's been reported that this has been going on for a while. And when it really started was when, I think back to 2008, when let's back it up. The summer before that season when Danny Ainge made all those trades to acquire Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett to the Celtics for that championship team they had in 2008. The one piece that Doc Rivers and Danny Ainge were not willing to move was Rajon Rondo. And so it kind of let Rondo know early, like, hey, they believe in me. They see some stuff in me. And I'm sure Rondo, being the guy he is, felt that he already saw that in himself. They played the 2008 season. He has a great season. Shows he's an amazing pass first point guard, amazing rebounder, defender for a guard. So he's at the whole, Team USA mini camp, and he's on the roster with a chance of getting invited to the Olympic squad. Chris Paul was the last point guard to make it in over Rondo for that 2008 Olympic spot for the point guard slot there. And I know, thinking back from 2018 back to 2008, like, who the fuck would ever take Rondo over Chris Paul? But at the time, it was pretty impressive, what Rondo was doing. And Rondo even carried it on for another 2 or 3 years with Boston before he eventually, started to bounce around in the league. But that's when it all started, They've had general animosity toward each other when they play too. You think about it, they're both the same kind of guy. They're the feisty short guy, get under your kind of shorts, get under your skin, do what they can to get you out of your game kind of point guard. And then I did a little more looking into it, and Rondo claims that Chris Paul is not a good teammate. Chris Paul treats teammates poorly. People don't understand what they really see with Chris Paul on the court. And I went and did a little digging, and Glenn Davis actually came out and said,
Yep.
I played with Rondo and I played with Chris Paul. He said, Rondo's right. Rondo is right when he says Chris Paul is not a good teammate. Now, from what I read, Glenn Davis didn't expand much on it, but I think in this whole situation, I'm going to have to be Team Rondo for right now until any other kind of new information comes out. I'm going to go with the idea, based on how Chris Paul responded, that it wasn't an intentional spit. I mean, if somebody intentionally spits on you and you see the neck cock back and the lips pucker up, like, what's coming and you're ready to fight pretty much. But the way Chris Paul responded by wiping the spit off and rubbing it on Rondo, I think it was accidental. So, given everything that's said and then the deciding factor in Glenn Davis, I think I'm gonna stick with Rondo in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you too. I like Rondo more than Chris Paul, but I think Glenn Davis kind of said that. It's like, okay, this guy has been with both players. He has no reason to say we don't believe who he's trying to impress.
Right.
I believe that. Before we move on, the suspensions were Chris Paul 2 games, Rajon 3 games, Brandon Ingram 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Paul initiated the contact. Do you think he got 2 games because he's the NBA PA president?
Yeah, I don't know about that. The way it is, when David Stern took over the league in the 80s, he saw what he had with Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, and he saw what it was turning into with Michael Jordan coming up as well. He realized that he needed to. I'm going to give you a history lesson. In the NBA during the 70s, they were competing with the ABA, and then on top of that, there were issues with drug use, cocaine use, fights in the NBA, and then Larry Bird and Magic Johnson came in and kind of saved the NBA, so to speak. And David Stern, when he became the commissioner, he realized what he had. He had these 2 stars that were saving the league, and he kind of bumped up to be more of an entertainment league more than a sports league, and he carried that on with Chris Paul. He carried that on with Michael Jordan when he took over, and it's really kind of manifested itself into this league that you see today. It's a star-driven league. I talk about the NFL being a shield-driven league. Well, the NBA is a star-driven league, and it's carried through today still, and I think the fact that Chris Paul is such a star for such a household name, like, they don't want to suspend him a long time and make him miss games that could. I mean, 4 games isn't going to sink their season, but you want to have him out there as most as possible. So I think that definitely played a part in it.
Why do you think Brandon Ingram got 4 games?
Brandon Ingram got 4 games because he ran over from he was by half court, or he was 10 to 15 out of the contact altogether, and or the altercation altogether, and he ran over and really went out of his way to connect with Chris Paul or whoever that was there. The NBA has a pretty stern rule about coming off the bench during a game for a fight like that, and I think they kind of viewed it almost the same. Like, he probably ran 30 feet and decked Chris Paul or somebody right in the face as best he could, so they wanted to make a statement with that, and they suspended all of them without pay too.
All right, well, props to Brandon Ingram. He protected teammates no matter what. I'm on board. I don't care if you're spinning or not. That's what you got to do.
Yeah.
So now we go on to some good teams. Like I said earlier, the Raptors, Bucks, Pistons, Nuggets, and Pelicans are all undefeated. We know that you love this Raptors team, maybe even to win the East this season. Besides the Raptors, what team, may not one that I named, has a chance of making some real noise and becoming maybe a top 4 seed in their conference?
I didn't give enough love before the season, but I think it was like game 2 or something, and they really shit on my Pacers. Was the Bucks, And the one thing I kind of forgot about the Bucks is all that length they have. I mean, they got Brooke Lopez, they got Mason Plumlee, who is or Miles Plumlee rather. I mean, he's not good, but he's 7 foot. They got John Henson. They got long wings too. They can defend and they can cover a lot of ground on that court. So I really like what they have, and then they combine that with Budenholzer, who is a really fantastic coach. I like what they have going there. I don't know if it's going to continue throughout the regular season. You saw them kind of flame out and fall short of their expectations. Maybe that was the Jason Kidd and the other interim coach they had that was absolute garbage. I don't even bother to remember his name. But the length they have on defense, they can just shrink the floor so much. They're going to be competent enough on offense because they have Budenholzer. I think that Milwaukee is a legitimate threat for a top 4 seed. They might be able to knock the Pacers or the 76ers out of it.
Do you think they have any extra chance of winning the East, though?
They could probably make things interesting with a team for a game or two, but I mean, at very worst, Boston and Toronto are probably going to win in 5 or 6 games in a 7-game set.
So that's the Eastern side. Game 1 from the Western side while we're at it.
You mean a team that can make a top 4 team that we're not looking at?
Yeah. Like Nuggets, Pelicans. What do you got? Any chance?
I mean, if you're going to pick one out of those two, I'm picking the Nuggets. They just have a deep team. They have a lot of guards. Jokic is a big-time player. They got Paul Millsap. They drafted Michael Porter Jr., who's probably not going to play this year, but if they make it to the playoffs and he's 100% healthy, maybe you see a little bit of him. I don't know, but out of the Nuggets and Pelicans, I like the Nuggets. I mean, they have a true home court advantage, too, with the altitude, so.
Has anything else through the first week of the season surprised you at all?
You know what? There have been some surprises. I mean, Jimmy Butler being on the Timberwolves, that definitely surprises me. I would have dealt him. I think the Timberwolves asked for a deal with the Heat that involved Bam Adebayo and Josh Richardson, and there was almost a deal in place, and then Tibbs asked for even more at the very last second. I don't know. I think at that time, I probably would have taken Josh Richardson and Adebayo and whatever else kind of filler they were willing to throw in with that. Another surprise for me is I am surprised that the Lakers have started 0-3. And I'll end on this one here. I said that coming into the season, I thought DeMar DeRozan, with Dejounte Murray going down and DeMar DeRozan struggling as a shooter from three-point range, that he was going to initiate the offense more often in the half-court setting. But he had 14 assists against the Lakers, and that just blew me away that DeMar DeRozan could ever get 14 assists in a game. So those have been kind of my 3 big surprises early on in this year.
That is really amazing to get 14 assists in a game. Before I talk about my team, do you think that we'll see more of him getting assists in Pop system, or so now that Murray's out, do you think he'll run point more often?
It's not necessarily that he's going to run point, but in the half-court setting, they're going to just put Patty Mills off the ball and let him do what he does best, which is shoot. And then DeMar DeRozan is going to have that opportunity in the coming off pick and rolls, coming off movement up top, early offense, coming off drag screens, where he's going to have the opportunity to get to the hole or pull up and hit the 17, 18-footer, which he is super lethal at, and that's what Ben Simmons needs to develop in his game. So you're going to look at more options to create and dish with DeMar DeRozan in the half-court offense, I think.
Well, yeah, I'd be interested to see how that happens because, Pop makes guys who only get one thing great at something. So
yeah, he's going to figure out what he's going to do best, and he's just going to milk it for all it's worth.
Yeah, the thing I want to talk about real quick, though, I'm not really surprised by how they're doing, but I'm kind of just impressed with how they're playing, I guess. It's the Hawks. They are 1-3, but they're playing really tough. They've been in every game, at least until the fourth quarter starts. They've got over 100 points in every game, so they are playing hard. And they're trying to show that, okay, people think we're not going to win 20 games. Well, we're going to win 21 games. And right now, they are down to the Mavericks by 8 points. But I bet they get 100 points again. And they keep showing people that they're better, and they're not the worst team in NBA history.
Yeah, they've scored over 100 points a lot this season, or in every game this season. Scoring around the NBA has been up a ton. I mean, you're looking at everybody dropping 100 points a lot. I mean, that Lakers game with the Spurs, I know it went to overtime, but it was only one overtime, and they dropped 140 points. Scoring all over the NBA has been up, and so I wonder if that's going to continue or not.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Like, a lot of teams are just running right now. Like, half-court sets are very, very low, and teams just getting the ball out fast as they can, fast pitch, and getting layups.
I do think that's going to taper off in the season. It's easy to play fast and loose like that early in the season. Once injuries and fatigue set in, you're going to see guys slow down a lot.
But speaking of rookies, we've had some great performances, and show top guys all living up to what they're advertised as. Look at Doncic right now. He's having 18, 5, and 5. He had a game the night with, I think, 20 points, 8 assists, and 8 and 5 assists. DeAndre Ayton's after double with 14 and 10. And Trae Young had a game with 35 points and 11 assists. Other than these, what rookies have come out and impressed you?
Well, I knew that Doncic was going to come out and play well. He's too ready from an intellectual basketball standpoint and from a gamer standpoint. He's been playing against pros since he was 15 or 16. He understands the game inside and out for a rookie very well. DeAndre Ayton, you saw what he did in the preseason. Sure, it's the preseason, but you saw what he did in Summer League. You see the body he has. If he wanted to come in and not play well in the NBA, it was going to have to be a full-out effort on his part to not do well. And what's really surprised me the most is I was not big on Trae Young. Like, people talk about Steph Curry being small, but Trae Young is 6'1". I mean, that is very small. He's come out and he's shooting it from deep, from really deep. He's shown everybody what kind of playmaker he is. He's gotten a lot of assists. So Trae Young has definitely impressed me the most. He's definitely surprised me the most out of all the rookies, too, that he's able to do this. I just wonder, through 82 games, when that rookie wall hits around 50 games or so, is he going to have the deep range on his jump shot? Is he going to have the physical ability and the efficiency to keep scoring like that and keep passing like that? So that's my big concern with Trae Young. Every rookie runs into it. And I just wonder, him being 6'1", 170, if he's going to be able to handle that wall when it hits, or if he's just going to completely decline and plateau for the last 30, 20 games of the season.
If Trae Young was a guy I wasn't big on all either, and I could definitely see fatigue setting in. I could see him just going absolutely insanely hard for 30-plus games.
Yeah.
And tipping off real hard. But I will call it this. We nailed the whole Kevin Knox usage thing.
Yeah.
He's averaging 11 shots per game and 3 makes.
Yeah.
So
he pretty much, he's going to get his chances, and he's going to shoot them no matter what. I think his percentages or his efficiency is going to go up during the year. It's just getting used to the space of the floor, getting used to the pace of the game. You saw it with Lonzo Ball last year. He struggled with that. Granted, he was hurt, but Kevin Knox, the more he plays, the better he's going to become. Again, all these guys are going to hit a wall about 50 or 60 games in, maybe even 40 games in, just depending, So you're going to see guys eventually rise up, hit that wall, and then fade off for the rest of the year, however they hit that wall and move on. But, yeah, Kevin Knox, I mean, you knew he's going to get the shots. You knew he wasn't going to be efficient, so.
Yeah, and this is going to sound really obvious, but, you don't get better by not doing something. So while it's not good that he's shooting 3 for 11 and being inefficient as all hell, at some point in time, you'd imagine he would become more efficient and learn how to score in the NBA, like you said.
Yeah, even if it's not this year, it could be next year, too. I mean, you look at Lonzo Ball, granted it is early. I mean, he's shooting the 3-ball well like he did at UCLA. So it's just time. It's just time in the NBA. It's repetition. It takes a minute to get used to. You're playing against the best guys in the world.
Yep, for sure. And now we're on a segment called Fletcher on the Fly. This is where I ask Fletcher 3 questions. He had no idea what they are, no time to prepare for them. He should answer them on the fly. The first 2 this week are trivia questions, which I know Fletcher loves.
Love it.
Last week, Nikola Jokic from the Denver Nuggets had a triple-double while scoring 30 points and going 11 for 11 from the field.
Yep.
Only one other time in NBA history has a player had a triple-double with 30 points while going perfect from the field. Can you name that player?
Wilt Chamberlain.
You might have saw that in Instagram and Twitter. That's pretty all over the place.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Leighton, you're going to have to come with a little more sauce if you're going to stump me.
Well, maybe this one will be harder for you. Last week, Trae Young had a game with 35 points and 11 assists. He's one of 3 players to have a 30-point game with 10 assists in the rookie season.
Yep.
Can you name the other 2 players?
LeBron and Jason Kidd.
LeBron and Steph Curry.
Oh, LeBron and Steph Curry. How about that?
Oh, man, look at that. Came with
Yeah.
all the confidence in the world. Thought he knew it. Thought he had it. Wow. I mean, you feel pretty fucking dumb.
Nope.
Nope. Alright, and now we get to our actual question of the week. Over the next 6 seasons, I asked you this last year too. Over the next 6 seasons, who will win the most NBA championships?
Over the next 6 seasons?
Yes.
Oh, the Boston Celtics. That's not even a question.
Not a question?
Not a question.
Why is it so easy? I mean, you don't have them penciled in to win the East this year.
Say what?
You don't have them locked in to win the East this year. Why is it such an obvious answer?
I have them penciled to win the East this year. I just
No, you said that they would win it, but then right off the back of that, you talk about how good the Raptors are.
The Raptors have a very good team, and they beat them game 2. But the thing is, I said about the Celtics is that I'm not betting their over because their win total for the over because I know the Toronto Raptors are going to have a good team this year. I think the Celtics are going to win the East this year, and they're going to win the East for the next 4, 5, 6, 7 years. So they're definitely going to be in a position to win the most titles because they are basically the Warriors right now, younger, and then when they get Al Horford's contract off the books, they're going to have pretty much free reign to go ahead and sign whoever they want to play center. I mean, they can go after a lot of different guys. Yeah. The Celtics, they're in title contention for almost the next decade.
So it doesn't scare you at all that the Celtics are currently on pace to never beat the Raptors again?
Not too worried about it.
All right, well, I agree with you, though. It's definitely the Celtics' favorite thing you said. So that's Fletcher on the fly. Next week, I'll come back with some harder questions for him. Fletcher is also to media nowadays, so I thought I could stump him, but I failed.
Yep.
So let's move on to our college basketball portion of the show. I talked about it already. This will not be a weekly portion of the show, but starting this week, starting about a little bit, you'll hear my opinion on Talks on the Side the upcoming Monday. So this will be basically for some talking. Top 5 of the ranking count this past week. The top 5 are Kansas, Kentucky, Gonzaga, Duke, and Virginia, in that order 1 through 5. Duke got that, legendary recruiting class. I think 4 top 12 players.
Yep.
Do you think that Kansas, Kentucky, Gonzaga are actually better than they are? Or do you think that the media just, in a way, wants to downplay that recruiting class and make it not seem like that is like a lock to be number 1?
Kansas, I'm not going to run through their whole roster, but I'm telling you what, Kansas has a legitimate roster this year. They bring back their 7-footer as a bouquet, and then they also sign Oak Hill center David McCormick. I mean, they are going to have all the rim protection they could ever want with those two. Kansas still has the defenders out there, the wings. They had a really good recruiting class themselves. Kentucky at 2 is a bit of a head-scratcher. Cal has had, recruiting classes for the past, he's had great recruiting classes forever, but like the past few years, guys who go there, all he does is yell at them. They look lost on offense and defense. Like I wouldn't go to Kentucky anymore. I think Duke and Kansas would be the places I would go to. So it's kind of surprising to me seeing Kentucky being number 2. I think Duke should be number 2 on that list. I think Duke is definitely better than Gonzaga and Kentucky. Gonzaga had a late run in the NCAA tournament. I mean, Kentucky, they're getting the courtesy pick because they're a blue blood and they are, they always have a great recruiting class. But, I mean, I can tell you right now, out of these top 5 teams, Kentucky's probably the most likely to flame out and disappoint. I mean, it's just been a staple of them the past few years. I don't know what's going to change. So, those are my thoughts on the top 5 here. And Virginia, I mean, they could flame out easy too. Sure, they lost 2 big key contributors going into the tournament last year, but if you're, win the ACC and the overall number 1 seed and you lose to a 16 seed, like it doesn't matter if you lost your whole starting 5, you should be able to pull 5 guys off the bench. You can beat that 16 seed that they lost to. I can't remember the name of it now, but Virginia and Kentucky, sure, their rosters look good right now. I could definitely see them flaming out. I think Duke's better than what they're listed as early. Kansas is my favorite to win the title as of right now, though.
Yeah, I can't think of that team either that beat Virginia. It's really coming right now. I'm sure Drake was here. He'd know in a second.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, their athletic director is so-and-so. The only reason I know very little about that team, but my dog is he's part Chesapeake Bay Retriever, and I know the name of that school is their mascot is the Chesapeake Bay Retrievers, and that's all I can remember about them. I know they're out east. It's like the University of Maryland in Baltimore or something like that. It's something
like
weird.
UBMC or something like that.
Yeah, and so that's the only reason I can remember the team and where they're at. I don't know what the acronym for their school is or anything about them. So
Kill me. But looking at this roster, like talking Kentucky already, Gonzaga. How are they ranked number 3 in the country, above Duke?
they have a lot of guys coming back, and they made a deep run a fairly deep run in the tournament last year. So I think they're just kind of rewarding them as well for what they did last year and having all those guys back.
Yeah, you talk about blue blood with Kentucky being at number 2. That's about much respect you can give Gonzaga. Gonzaga, they're not blue blood by any means at all. But they in the realm now of getting the respect that you would give a Kentucky or a Duke or a Kansas.
Well, they've had continued success for 20 plus years now. So, I mean, I know that they play in a conference that benefits them a lot. I mean, they're way better than any team in that conference, so their record's always going to be loaded. So they've proven they can make deep runs in the playoffs. Their record's going to be there. Of course, they're going to be ranked high. So I think that's kind of what you're seeing now in the preseason, starting to reflect that as well.
To the other top 5 teams, what team outside of that, maybe in the late 20s or even unranked team, do you think is a good team that people are just kind of overlooking right now?
So the team that I think everybody is overlooking is UCLA. They're currently ranked 21 in some polls. They have a really good team. They brought in Cody Riley. Everybody knows that they have Sharif O'Neal, but he's going to be missing this season due to heart condition. But they'll have Jalen Hill, Jalen Hands. They signed Moses Brown. They are going to have a really complete team. They went through a lot last year with the whole shoplifting incident I'm sure everybody heard about with LiAngelo Ball. So they're going to have a really good team. They're going to have a really deep team. I'm excited to see what all they're going to bring to the table this year. But they got some big fish in this previous recruiting class. And then on top of all that, they have a guy on their team named Prince Ali. And so, I mean, that's about all you need to say right there.
It's a game to have, for sure.
Good news right now. The Pacers are up 62-50 on the Spurs.
All right, this is a little NBA check-in to the callback portion of the show.
Yeah.
Talk about the teams. What team do you think will ultimately win the championship?
I know it's such a cop-out to pick Kansas as they are number 1, but, I mean, Kansas roster, they are just loaded. They have the Azubuike center coming back. He's 7'1". He's 270. They have Quentin Grimes they signed. They have Dedrick Lawson, KJ Lawson. They have David McCormick. They have LeGerald Vick coming back. I mean, they're just loaded top to bottom. They're going to have an unstoppable front court. If they just choose to rotate those two centers with McCormick and Azubuike in and just provide 40 minutes of total rim protection while smothering you on defense the way Kansas does every single year, leading the nation in defensive field goal percentage, I don't see how they lose. You're looking at a team like they had kind of in 08 that could just defend all over the court, smother you, swarm you, and on top of that, they can still score. So I know they lost a little bit, guys leaving for the draft and whatnot, but Kansas is still my pick. They're ranked number 1 for a reason, and I'm going to stick with them until pretty much they get eliminated entirely.
Yep, and I'll elaborate it more on Monday, but I hate to say it, but my pick's Duke. I mean, that team's always good, and it's just got an absolutely low recruiting class. I'm excited to see what John Wilson can do other than just dunk it, so looking forward to that, but talk about more on Monday. So, after being totally gutted by the NBA, does Villanova have any chance at all of repeating? Because they lost basically the entire team, even Damon Senzo, who you thought would be the least maybe another year or two, got drafted. So, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, they did sign some quality guards. I know no one's surprised about that. Villanova signing a couple, 2 or 3 quality guards, and they got a really good forward. You're not going to see a huge impact out of those guys early on in the year, I don't think. But Villanova is one of the handful of teams that actually received first overall votes, and they're starting the season at 9, and so they got 1 vote. But I mean, it shows the respect that they have as far as a team that executes 100% on offense and defense in the coaching job that Jay Wright does. So I think Villanova, they're going to win their conference. They're probably going to make it to at least a Sweet 16. You're not going to see a team like you had last year, though. But the recruiting class they had this year Give them another year or two, and they're going to be the Villanova we all know that we've seen the past few years.
Yeah, I mean, Villanova, they're by far the most consistent team in college basketball right now. Every season, they're in the top 5. Every year, the top 1 or 2 seed.
Yeah.
I don't see why that would change this year. Will they win it all with losing all that talent? Probably not, but they'll still be a team that can definitely compete with anybody else. For now, throughout the season, Fletcher and I will scout one player a week. It won't be this week. It'll be starting next week or maybe the next week even. But this week, we'll talk about the All-American team. Got announced this past week. The All-American team is as follows. Carson Ellis from Purdue. Luke May from North Carolina. R.J. Barrett from Duke. Dizzy Lawson from Kansas. Caleb Martin from Nevada. And Ethan Happ from Wisconsin. I talked about Luke May last year actually on the show. I scouted him. And he has no chance to be going to the NBA.
No.
Like, just zero chance. Under athletic. Can't really shoot. Just a straight grinder. Imagine a worse Tyler Hansbrough. And you have Luke May.
Yeah.
Like, he's not going to be good in the NBA. He'll be drafted second round. Probably late second round at best. So, Fletcher, of these guys, we saw Martin, perform huge last year's tournament. R.J. Barrett is a consistent number 1 pick amongst, executives in the NBA right now. Of these players, who do you like the most going into the NBA?
Well, I'm just going to piggyback off Luke May or what you said about Luke May real quick. He's basically the flabby version of Tyler Hansbrough. Tyler Hansbrough was strong and intense. I don't know if Luke May's intense or not. He might be. But he sure as shit ain't strong. And he sure as shit not athletic. So, Luke May, he's one of those guys who's good in college and not good at the pros. He's basically like the Tim Tebow of college basketball right now. Obviously, the guy on this list who I think is going to be the best in the NBA is R.J. Barrett. He's an insane athlete. Scores at will right now. Rebounds the ball well. He's going to be able to defend 1 through 4. Well, probably in college, he's probably going to be able to defend 1 through 5. But when he gets to the NBA, he's going to be able to defend 1 through 4. R.J. Barrett, his in-between game is nice. His handle is nice. Where you need to see consistency from is from outside. He's been a little streaky about that. If he can get that outside jump shot nice and really improving, look for him to take over. He and Zion to take over college basketball, and then R.J. Barrett probably going to go number 1 in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely. I mean, I'll tell you a bit. He's going to pick overall, probably being the best team. That's Duke. He's shooting for it, but throughout this season, Dippers, Fletcher and I will scout players more in depthly. Start here next week, 2-3 weeks or so, and we'll get more into that. So now we're on to a game of the week. Each week, we're trying to talk about one game we're looking forward to watching or reading about, looking at the box score for. This week, my pick is Celtics at the Thunder, which is tomorrow night. The Thunder are 0-3, haven't won a game yet. Celtics are 2-2. Fletcher has already proclaimed them to be the next dynasty in sports. So I'm looking forward to see how the Thunder react to being 0-3. Westbrook's playing again. So I want to see how they react to playing a team like Boston and how they go against, the depth of that lineup.
I'm really excited to watch the game just right after that one. It's going to be the Lakers and the Denver Nuggets. You got Denver playing at L.A. Denver's undefeated. Los Angeles, they haven't won a game yet. And you're going to have 2 big star matchups, I guess, if you want to call it that. Both guys, Nikola Jokic and LeBron James, are leading their teams in points, rebounds, and assists. Jokic is getting 23, 10.5, and 7 assists a game. LeBron's getting 27, 8, and 8. So LeBron's playing a boatload of minutes, and Jokic isn't playing a whole lot compared to LeBron. But I think this is going to be a really good matchup for both teams. I think it's going to be an entertaining game. It's going to be a back-and-forth game. LeBron and Jokic won't be guarding each other, but it should be, a good – I don't know if I even want to call it this, dare I say it, but like a primetime matchup between those two guys with the numbers they've been putting up this year.
Who you got in that game?
I just got to go with the Lakers, man. Like, Denver's got to lose at some point. LA's got to win at some point. Why not tomorrow night?
To go with the question from earlier in the show, at what point in time do you worry about the Lakers? They go 0-5, 0-6?
I mean, I said it was going to take 20 to 30 games for them to get the chemistry and the defense all together and tight. I don't know what the game range is that you have from when you start panicking, but when you start losing to teams, like they've lost to quality teams. Like Portland, they haven't lost a home opener in 18 years. That blows my mind. They, who did they play game 2? I can't recall off the top of my their second game down. The Rockets, and then they lost to the Spurs. I mean, those are 3 quality opponents, and they were either in the game to win it going down the stretch, win to overtime, one possession kind of games. It's not like they're just like getting blown out by these teams. They're playing really good quality teams. They have a whole lot of new pieces on the court together they're trying to figure out. They're barely losing to these teams. If you start losing to really shitty teams down the stretch, like if you start losing to the Phoenix Suns, or you start losing to the Clippers, or you start losing to the Miami Heat, something like that, these really bad teams, the Dallas Mavericks, the Hawks, if you struggle against these teams down the stretch, I don't know what kind of range you're looking at, but if you start struggling to bad teams, that's when you probably should look internally or look externally for solutions to right the ship.
I couldn't agree with you more, and that's why I pay the big bucks to Sauce on the Side.
Right. So
Dippers, as always, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the Saucy Pod. Listen to Sauce on the Side every Monday, Ducks on the Pond every Sunday, Knuckle Sandwich every Thursday, Food for Thought most Saturdays. From Leighton, from Fletcher, as always, stay saucy.